The most important thing that I look for when I'm interviewing to potentially work with a title company or a closing law firm are their abilities to communicate constantly. Do they have systems in place where the paperwork and the updates are instant, on demand, and easily recoverable? For instance, do they warehouse their paperwork in the cloud so that if I'm missing a document, I can instantly retrieve it without taking very many steps? Also, constant communication throughout the transaction, both with myself and the consumer, the purchaser or the seller, is very, very important. Technology is critical in the closing process. We meet with critical dates, and the title companies and attorneys that seem to really have it down not only advise as to the quality of the title search, making advice to obtain additional inspections like surveys, obtaining variances where need be, but also advising both the buyer and seller and their respective agents of critical dates. Because it is a limited practice of law that we do within the real estate community, it's really good to have that support from a title company or an attorney to confirm those critical dates. Say, when does the inspection period end? Does everybody agree on this date so that you don't have arguments that come up later? When is the title commitment due? And also arranging for closing, keeping all of the real estate agents, the buyer and the seller in the loop in a timely manner to have a successful closing. One thing that I think we've gotten away from in this particular environment of technology is the face-to-face or hearing a voice. A lot of title companies and attorneys and real estate agents alike rely on email, texting, and cloud-based services to communicate with their clients. But what we're finding is that clients are starting to go a bit old school. They want to hear from you on the phone, and that's very important. 30 seconds on the phone can make them feel like they are very important to you, as opposed to a text or an email or an iCloud update. One instance that I experienced with a local real estate attorney recently was a breakdown in the communication with the homeowners association about a variance that needed to be granted. It was voluntary HOA, but enforced deed restrictions. The attorney went to the next level to make sure that they reached out to everybody that was in a position to make a decision to get to a timely closing. This deed restriction violation, as far as a setback on a survey issue, was discovered very late in the process, actually after the title insurance review contingency period had expired. So it did expose the buyer to the potential default in this particular contract. But the attorney really went above and beyond and even left the office to obtain the signatures in order to have this variance for closing so that the seller and the buyer could close on time. The impression that that type of service, to go above and beyond for a busy law firm, really shows that even this wasn't a multi-million-dollar transaction, that they care about the consumer as much as they care about the growth of their business. Depending on the level of education that we have as realtors in the new environment where a municipal lien search is actually part of the typical contracts that we're using, it can be a bit challenging if you're not aware of what this means. And what I would strongly recommend is you identify a title company or an attorney that's going to take over that education for you and instruct the buyer how important it is to obtain a municipal lien search very early in the transaction, even while you're doing home inspection reports, because these are things that can delay closings depending on the seller's position. If the seller has a delinquent lien with respect to code enforcement, that can take time to have it set aside and actually have a meeting or a hearing with that particular code enforcement scenario. And while state legislature is actually assisting us at this time with respect to open permits, it's still an issue that needs to be identified very quickly. And that's why it's important to select the right title company or attorney that's going to work very quickly early in the transaction to identify these matters. are they in a position to educate me further, educate my clients further, create a dramatic, very special closing experience with my clients? And what is their follow-up? What is their point of contact? Do they have information that they send out to their database of clients to educate them beyond the sale? That's very important to me because it's something that I do in my business. So I look to partner with firms that have systems like this in place. One thing that I think is most important when selecting a title insurance company or real estate attorney as your closing law firm is to discuss with them their closing procedure. How do they treat closings? What is their process for scheduling? For us as real estate agents, the two happiest days that you're going to have with your client are the day they sign their contract and the day that they go to closing. Are they providing a lifelong memorable experience for your client? They're only going to buy so many houses in their lifetime, and those are moments and memories that need to be captured to the fullest.